Good Monday evening. This is Sam Shihab, and with me,
Brian Burke.
we're from the law firm of Sam Shihab and Associates, and we're going to talk about adjustment of status processing time and share with you some interesting details when we come back. All right, so adjustment of status processing time is an important topic, and once you file your adjustment of status, obviously you are waiting, and that processing time becomes a key nagging timeline that you watch constantly. And we're going to be talking about the processing time. We kind of took a dive into USCIS's redesigned.
They on May 5th. USCIS, they refreshed their processing time page.
Yes.
So that the public will have access to immediate, clear answers on case processing time, Sam, to quote them in their press release.
Immediate.
Immediate.
And clear.
Clear.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give them immediate. However, I don't think it's any more immediate than it was before. If anybody's not familiar, there's a website on the USCIS page that allows you to check the posted processing times for how long it takes them to get to your type of case based upon what kind of filing it is and what service center it's located at. Yeah. Clear answers. I would say the answers are less clear this time.
Yeah. Shall we show them the new portal and how it looks? And
I think that's a worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah.
So here it is. If anybody's not familiar, if you go to uscis.gov, and I'll even go back to show you where it is on the page. You scroll on down, it's in the manage your case. If you go to check processing times, that's where you can check the processing times on your I-485 case. So I'm just gonna randomly pick one, and I'm gonna say I-485, because that's relevant to so many people. Oh, I've skipped it. I-485, and it's gonna say form category, and I'm gonna choose employment-based adjustment applications, because I know there's so many people in our audience who have one of those pending. And I'm going to pick, the Nebraska Service Center, because that's a popular one where a lot of employment-based green cards reside. And I'm going to push check processing times. Here it is. Well, Sam, here's the first new bit to the page. It says 80% of cases are completed within 15 months.
Okay, so let's take a pause here,
Yeah.
right? So what did it say before?
It said nothing about how many cases, percentage of cases were made. It would basically give you a period of time as how long it takes.
Do you recall the previous, like the previous one before they redesigned it? What's that timeline? Was it still 15 months?
Well, so last time I saved a copy of this page, and I do save a copy of this page every now and again, and we'll talk about why I do that later, especially lately. I'll show you what it said. Here's what it said for this is the Texas Service Center.
Can you make it bigger?
I can make it bigger.
There you go.
And it said 10.5 to 19 months. And I realize we're talking about Nebraska, so I should bring that one up. Here we are, Nebraska. Employment-based applications, 10.5 to 19 months. So that's what it said, and that's basically estimated time range, 10.5 to 19 months. I always interpreted that, Sam, as the window in which you should expect to see, or could reasonably expect to see, a decision on your case.
I read it that cases should not be later than 19 months.
Yes. Well, yeah, and that's how I read it as well. So I would read this page across. I'd say, okay, the processing time for an employment-based I-485 is 10.5 to 19 months. And then I'd get over here, it says receipt date for a case inquiry. And so out of September 24th, 2020, and I'd say, okay, if it's my case on September 24th, 2020, I guess that's probably about 19.
Prior to.
Yeah. Number right there, Sam, that's your case. That's when you can knock on our door or pick up the phone and say, hey, my case is taking a long time. You tell me, I heard something by now because it was filed for September 24th, 2020.
Let's switch to what it says now.
What it says now. So it says 15 months.
80% of cases are completed within 15 months.
Yeah.
Sounds like a marketing or a sales thing, somebody trying to convince you that they're good.
Yeah.
It's not really more clear or more helpful, I think. I think it's confusing.
Well, yeah, see.
And it's not a complete answer.
Yeah, well, I guess the question, a lot of the emails I get in my inbox hey, Brian, when should I start worrying about this, right? And this doesn't really give you that information. It says 15 months, 80% of the cases. I guess, if your case is beyond 15 months, that's when you should start worrying.
Because you're in the 20%.
Yeah, what's wrong? Why am I one of those 20%? How they haven't gotten to?
Right.
Yeah.
So they are not telling you when they will. So we do not know beyond the 80% how long it will take to process a case.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before going live here, and the more interesting question is, okay, what about the 85th percentile, the 90th, the 95th?
What, 20 months, 40 months, 100 months?
Yeah, so I guess that's what it is. They get to really hide to brush under the rug what their problems are. They say, as long as we get to 80% of them in a good amount of time, we're feeling really good. The ones that are more complicated, the ones we have to think about more, we can just sit on those, and that's that.
So how do you grade them on whether or not you're receiving clear answers?
Well, having seen two options, Sam, I'm just going to compare the old version versus the new version. I like the old version better.
Well, this version is crap.
Yeah, well, last time you got two numbers, 2 data points. Now you get a single data point.
And with no information on the other data point.
Yeah.
So the other one told you, if you cross 19 months, really there's something wrong. You got to act and you got to contact us. Here, I guess you're in the 20th percentile, but are you within the normal processing time for the 20th percentile?
Yeah.
Or are you not within the normal processing time with the 20th percentile?
Yeah, I mean, I interpret the old one as, here's the zero, I'm going to put it up again, here's the 0 percentile where it's crazy. Very few people get approved before 10 and a half months, and many people, and everybody should be approved before 19 months. And it's just more data you get on the last version. Right. So that's one interesting part of this page, Sam. But they created this nice little tool down here. When can I ask about my case? Right? This is different. Previously, if you wanted to ask about your case, and I'm going to show what it said before. It said if your receipt date for a case inquiry was before September 24th, 2020. That's when you could have put in an inquiry. In terms of clarity, Sam, I'm going to say this is a little bit confusing for somebody, I think, who's maybe not an immigration expert. What does that mean? When can I put in an inquiry on my case? And what is a case inquiry? These are great questions. And so we have this new version, and I think I'll give them on this one. It's a little bit clearer. So many routine factors impact how quickly a case is processed. We only allow inquiries for cases that are well outside the processing time listed above. So enter your receipt date below if you can contact. Enter the date below to see when you can inquire with USCIS.
Got it.
Yes. So I'm going to pick a date, Sam.
Okay, I'd love to put that September 24th date.
Yes. Oh, September 24th date. Sam, do you think anything's going to happen? That's interesting. So 9/24/2020. So that's the receipt date on
That's the date that we saw in the other screenshot.
Yeah.
So everybody understand. Can you go back to the previous one, Brian?
So
that's the date.
This is from April. This file is from April 14th. Actually, it's a printout from the website, so I should be able to see it here on the bottom. Well, I believe it's from April 14th is when it said this. So I printed this off on April 14th, and I said, okay, September 24th, 2020, I can put in inquiries on any cases filed before that on April 14th, I believe this was. So I put in September 24th, 2020, and it's going to be exciting, Sam. Let's see what it says. Your case is processing normally, and the earliest you can submit an inquiry is July 25th, 2022.
Wow. So from April to July, they basically pushed the review, your ability to check on cases for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Now, how many months is September 24th, 2020?
How many months is September 20 from that data
Is
file?
it more than 15 months?
Well, let's see. I want to get out my calculator in the form of my hand. So December 24th, 2021, that's 12 months right there. October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May.
It's 19 months.
Yeah, 19 months.
It's 19 months.
Yeah.
So they're telling you that you're still in the... So let's go ahead and move it back a little bit. Just experiment. Let's move it back like July 2020.
So way before the October adjustment of status deluge. Oh, you still can't quite do it yet. You still have a couple weeks.
And that's nuts.
Yeah.
So even though you're beyond the 15 months, you really cannot check.
Yeah.
So, and there's no...
And if you put an inquiry, if you try to put in a case status inquiry or contact the USCIS ombudsman, they're going to tell you now that congratulations, your cases were in normal process time. And I was talking to somebody. His process, I have this printout here. This is from about April 14th, right? I looked on May 4th, just before they made this change, and the date for putting an inquiry in both service centers was October 10th. It made it as far as October 10th, right? And then suddenly, with a new, more clear, more better for you information page, it goes back, months.
Brian, this is genius work. Think about it. This is genius work. Whoever designed this for them, I'd like to meet that person. And
I thought you were complimenting me for a second on looking at this data.
No. Well, I'm complimenting you. You're doing a great job. But think about it. How can anybody pull information, not give you clear information, or give you information that they're doing better? So now you were looking at 19 months, now you're looking at 15 months.
Yeah.
You're doing so much better.
Yeah. They have this giant honking number here, this giant headline number, 15 months, yes. Fine print says, except for you,
And on the other hand, your inquiry is pushed back 3 months.
Yeah.
We're doing so great, but if your case is well beyond the 15 months, you can't check on it.
And that's what drives me mad. What is the skeleton in the closet? The 80th through the very last guy in line. How long does it take to them?
That is so non-transparent.
Yeah.
And so not straightforward. As a matter of fact, the old system was transparent and straightforward.
I liked it. Now, Sam, I want to drop the bomb. Is why would I go around printing off, saving PDFs of these pages? We saw this coming. We know that a ton of people filed cases in October 2020, and you and I were, sometime in the middle of April, we're talking about this, and this probably right when we were talking about our litigation presentation, and saying, oh, those processing times are going to crawl back, and I said at that time in this conversation, Sam, Sam, this is going to be useful later. I'm going to save these to somewhere on my computer. It took me about a half hour to find them on my computer. I couldn't remember where I put them. But as soon as I saw this update to the portal, I was just absolutely upset, but thrilled. Because I talked to somebody who's literally getting ready to put in an ombudsman inquiry on his case because he knew his processing time was going to get there, and he said, "Well, gee golly, my processing time inquiry date rolled back, 2.5 to 3 months."
80% of the cases are processing 15 months, but the 20% of the cases are processing 20, 25 months, 5 years, 6 years.
I just imagine like a USCIS director sitting in front of Congress. So how long does it take you to approve green card cases? Well, we get to 80% of them, ma'am, in 15 months. Well, and what is
good job?
What about the 85th percentile? Well, we get to 80% of them in 15 months. It's just it is theater. It is annoying to me because there are people out there, and I talk to them on the phone. And I answer their emails. They say, "Brian, what's the status of my adjustment status case?" Well, processing dates are moving forward. And eventually, they will get to your case, and if they get beyond processing times, you can inquire, and then processing times slip 2.5 months.
But do you think in the back end of the of this screen of this website, let's put it back in.
Sure.
Do you think in the back end of that, if you scroll up a little bit on that date? No, I'm sorry, the other direction. I apologize.
Right down,
Yeah. So now you enter a date and you get
the official day when you can inquire.
Right. Do you think this is simply a formula, or do you think this is fed on a day-to-day basis?
I based upon USCIS workloads, because that's what I don't know. I'd be very interested to see if these dates start moving around.
So May 24th, if it's a formula, let me see here.
Here, it's over on this one. So pick a date.
Change a month, 1 month back.
Okay, we'll go to 6/24.
Yeah.
06, 6, 24, 2020. Right. Get inquiry date. Oops, did it clear out this stuff up here? Try again. Actually, no, that's it, Sam. This is different. So if you filed on 6/24/2020, it actually says you can submit a service request online. So that's that.
8/24.
08/24. Get inquiry date.
So it's a formula because it was May 24th.
Yeah.
Now it's June 24th.
Yep.
So basically, they just put in a formula. This is not real numbers.
Yeah.
It's just a little.
Well, they picked
it's a simple formula.
They picked a magic time when that's
Yeah.
when we're going to hear you. But so Sam.
And that formula can be changed anytime they want. So it is very difficult. There's more convolution to how you figure things out. So it's hard to pin them down.
Yeah, this is what's frustrating. People want more information. What drives people mad about USCIS is they don't know what. You look at your case status page online, and you see, they took my RFE response, they took my fingerprints, and that's 10 months ago. People want to know what they're doing. What are they doing with my case? And they've replaced what is arguably better information last time with an automatic, an Excel spreadsheet equivalent that I could build, puts in a date, it gives you a date X amount of months later. It's less good information in my book. Maybe slightly easier to understand because they give you a little guide as to say, hey, it's time for you to put in an inquiry. You can do it. But
not only that, the problem I have with this straightforward formula, not every day it's the same number of cases they have to go through.
Yeah.
So we are going to have days where there's 10 times more cases that come in than days less.
Yeah.
So with a formula, as clearly it sounds like it's a formula, it doesn't give you any good information.
Yeah,
it's
and
just a garbage.
I mean, this all points to October 2020 related shenanigans, as I see it. I mean, we know they got thousands upon thousands of cases in October 2020 when they moved the priority dates forward and everybody became eligible for filing for the first time. And I can't help but think that somebody just, said, holy baloney, we're getting calls, and all of our cases suddenly have thousands of cases outside normal processing times. Somebody do something to shut it off. Oh, conveniently, we're about to update.
Come out with a fake number, which is tell you 80%.
Yeah.
Okay, and then come out with a calculation, change the website, make it look different, change the way we present the information, and then slide 3 months backward movement on the process.
And buy ourselves some more time to approve these cases with a normal processing time.
And people are not going to notice this.
Yes.
People are so stupid out there, and we're so smart, they're so dumb, that they're not going to notice. And they're going to be so happy with this brand new website with the new transparent, immediate information that is clear and they give you a clear answer. They're not going to notice that we're going to slide back.
Yeah, they think that people don't check these things. Because I was literally talking to a guy who says, Brian, every night before I go to bed, I check the status of my green card case to see if there's an update.
Okay, and that's the thing that we're talking about. The inquiry date has been rolled back 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're not coming out and saying that.
Yeah.
And that is 100% lack of honesty and transparency.
Yeah.
100%. Come out and say, we're rolling back your ability to have an inquiry with us for 3 months more than normal before because we cannot handle the inquiry as we're getting behind and working to process cases. And rather than to come out with this fancy presentation.
Yeah. Well, and Sam, I said we kind of saw this coming, right? And I mentioned that it was around the time we were talking about litigation. We were really thinking about this issue, and what it makes me immediately think about, what does a court case look? What is like a mandamus action? You sue in a mandamus action, you can sue the government for not doing their job. Basically tell the government, take your action, do your job, work on my case, come to a decision because that's your job, right? And if the government wants to fight with you, I think the very first thing they're going to say is, you're within normal. We're within normal processing times on the case.
We've seen that time and time again. The first thing that the counsel from the government is going to say, "What are you suing? You're only 1 week outside processing time. So processing time is gospel."
Yeah.
And they take and now they basically move that processing time 3 months back. So processing time has been moved back 3 months with fancy work. And the question I have is, was USCIS lying before about processing time, or is USCIS lying now about processing time? Because overnight, processing time shifted 3 months, right?
Yeah.
So in either scenario, there's a liar.
You know,
And it's pointing to one agency. It's not pointing at anybody else. It's pointing to one agency only.
I could give you another scenario. The liar, the lie, which number's the lie? How about gross mismanagement of their data? You know, if their tool before was so bad that they couldn't see that
I'll take that.
How many cases do you think came in October 20? The hundreds of thousands of cases that were filed in fall of October 2020. If whoever manages that processing time pool such terrible visibility that they just sort of moved it along, and they could possibly have fathomed that they were, moving it too far ahead, and then suddenly that they couldn't possibly gather that maybe it would be a bad idea for them to move that processing time into October.
Okay, so there was a mistake that's been going every day since October, every day, as they are making new dates.
As they're taking in new cases, yeah.
No, as they're updating the website.
Sure, yeah. As they're doing.
They've updated the website since October of 2020 50 times.
Yep, sure.
And they made a mistake by 3 months 50 times?
Yes, I believe it.
50 times they were working on the case, and 50 times they were wrong by 3 months.
Now, Sam, I'm going to shock the audience by taking off my glasses. Now, see, I can't see 3 inches in front of my face, and I think that's what USCIS. I think it's a general problem the government has in managing data related to green cards. We see these big sways back and forth on the visa bulletin. It points to me that they can't see that far ahead. They can't see when people's priority dates are. They don't know when to expect cases, so the cases go all over the place. And this just seems like another symptom of that. They can't see that what's in the warehouse when they're doing this. They can't see that there's tens of thousands of cases that they got in October 2020, and they go holy baloney, and they finally get to the point where the only way they know, Sam, the only way, I presume that in the first couple of days of May, in the first little period, which they said, okay, we'll take case inquiries if you were filed before October 1st. They got a deluge of calls, a deluge of inquiries, and they said, holy, and they had to do something about it. And they found out only now they are incredibly far behind of what their normal processing times are. And I can't help but think, Sam, that there has to be some sort of correction as to, because we are about 19 months right now from October 2020, right? That's what we said. So
they pushed it back.
Yeah, so I guess So I'm going to bring up this table again. So they definitely had to have pushed it back because this table said to 19 months, and congratulations, so many people are beyond 19 months now. No matter any way you cut it, they are hiding in this thing a massive, massive slip in their processing times, and that hurts people, and that just is delaying them from getting their life in the United States started, and it drives me mad.
And the way they fix it is by being less transparent.
Yes, less transparent.
All right.
So Sam, there are some interesting things out there. Some, USCIS, they obviously have a manpower problem. So they announced that recently they had a press release on their website that says they are hiring.
Right.
They are hiring 4,000 people. Let's see, 4,400 with the goal of having 95% on board by 12/31/2022.
It means nothing.
I'm
sorry, it means nothing.
If you're trying to get 290,000 green cards approved before September 30th, 2022, 95% starting your hiring in now and getting 95% on board before 12/31 is a bit too late.
This is just a press release.
Yeah, it is just a press release.
It has absolutely nothing to do with what's really happening on the ground.
Yeah.
They haven't hired anybody. They probably don't even have a mechanism in place to hire. Maybe they do. But I am going to hire 20,000 people next year.
I don't want to train them, Sam. You're hiring 20,000 people.
Well, think about that.
Yeah.
It's all baloney.
Yeah.
It's nothing. That doesn't affect my casework right now.
So there's another thing that's another bit of information that's related, that I consider related anyway. The massive slip in USCIS processing times dropped 3 months off adjustment of status cases. Here's the other big news of immigration news last week is USCIS extended their period of automatic extension of all sorts of categories of EADs. Right? They went from 180-day automatic extensions to
year and a half.
To 540-day automatic extensions.
540 days.
540-day automatic extensions. And Sam, what does it say to you that USCIS, that they need automatic extensions, so you can file an EAD extension application 180 days before they expire? What does it say to you? They had to move. Essentially, if you file early, it means USCIS would have 1 year to process your case. What does it mean to you, Sam, when now you have a year and a half? USCIS has a year and a half automatic extension of an EAD.
They have more resources to process adjustments, right?
If you just leave those EADs on the table.
Well, I mean, they've had.
You're giving a real optimistic look. My look is. They're admitting defeat. They're saying that we don't have any chance of getting to any sorts of cases. Our adjustment of status processing time has dropped 3.5 months, and I bet it's going to be more than that. EADs.
I have no problem with them admitting that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fact.
Well, this is helpful. I will.
This is a fact.
Yeah.
They cannot get to it.
Yeah.
And they're pushing it. But for me, have you freed any resources, and where the resources are going?
Well, see, that reminded me of something we talked about when we heard of the big move from the Texas Service Center and Nebraska Service Center to the National Benefits Center. And AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, of which we're both members, basically asked, are you going to be doing any hiring in the national benefits to take care of all this stuff from the National Benefits Center? And they said no, So that was only, the middle of April they said that, and this is a press release from 5/3 that says, 4,400 people. So, I don't know. I just read them as very disorganized and...
well, when you push 540 EADs for a year and a half,
yeah.
And because it takes 18 minutes to process a green card, and it takes 12 minutes to process an EAD, for every 6 EADs not processed, that's 1 green card.
Yeah.
For 6 EADs. So they pushed hundreds of thousands of EADs for a year and a half. Okay? So for every 6 EADs pushed, that's 1 extra green card. Where's the resources? Are we seeing that?
No. And honestly, well, apparently, Sam, we're seeing them to a 95 percentile before the end of the year 2022.
And obviously, impact on this is now we have tremendous lack of confidence and trust in USCIS's published processing time data. This is a major blow to their credibility, in my opinion, because if you're moving it 3 months, you don't just flip it with a brand new website and talk about transparency and 80 percentile, and then you got to go through it and say, oh, we moved back 3 months. You got to squarely say, we moved it back 3 months.
Yeah,
and the reason is
unprecedented amount of cases received in October 2020. We're no longer able to meet the timelines that we projected.
So when we go to litigation, that's going to be the first thing we will point out, that USCIS processing time is a farce.
Yeah,
is not reliable.
It's whatever the website administrator
decides
chooses
it to be.
Yeah.
And there is no good data. It sounds like a formula to me.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear. You move it a month, your date
moves a month. So that's nothing. This is no real data. Yeah. This is BS.
I'm inclined to agree with it.
Yeah. They're giving you the feeling that they're giving you really.
Look, I'm going to push a button based upon my date, and it's going to inquire. It's going to crunch some numbers.
Yeah, it's me that they're looking at my date.
Yeah,
it's just stupid formula.
Yeah, it's. I'm a terrible web developer, Sam, but I'm pretty sure I could achieve a little box where I put in a number and it gives a date 19 months later. Yeah. I just might be able to achieve that.
And you wanted to talk about the statements between the AILA press release.
Yeah.
About no, we're on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain that to people?
Yeah. So again, on 5/3, just a couple days ago, they said we're hiring 4,400 people. That's our goal. We were
by end of this year.
By the end of this year, by 12/31. But just about a little bit over a month ago, on 4/1, they told the American immigration lawyers saying, we don't need additional staff to cover all these employment-based adjustment statuses.
Yeah, we have enough staff to process all of them and substantially take care of the backlog.
Sam, I like to think that sometime between April 1st and May 1st, that's when whoever writes their press releases, their press liaison they heard about the October. They said, oh, we got that many cases in October 2020, and that's why they changed their tune. Because
so on April 1st, they come out and they say, we are under control. No, we do not need to hire more people, right?
Yeah. Since
So the question is, given the anticipated significant increase in workload,
at the
could
NBC,
USCIS provide any update on its plans to provide staffing, training, and other administrative resources to the NBC to facilitate the swift processing of transferred cases? Response: since these cases are not receiving pre-processing by the NBC, but rather accepted from TCS to NCS and immediately made available for the field office to order, there's no need for additional staff or processing at the NBC staff. To begin with, they moved them out
yeah, to
because they couldn't. Now they're having. I say, wow, we need 4,400 people. Exactly.
Again, I think they may have just only figured out between I'm kidding a little bit, but between April and May that they needed those people.
We need some positive news.
Yeah. So we have some trends we've been seeing. You know, we're talking about adjustment of status processing times in a very broad sense today. Basically, what USCIS is telling us. But you know, we are seeing lots of I-45 supplement J receipts come in. So that's a good thing. We have sent out a ton of interfilings to that wacky office in California that they say, send your interfilings here. We are actually starting to see those come in. So if you haven't gotten yours yet, there's a reasonable chance you're going to see yours soon because we're starting to get hit with those. That's a good thing.
We're seeing also a bunch of interviews.
Yeah, interview notices. You know, double-edged sword. You know, not everybody wants an interview, but interview notice means somebody's looking at your case.
Yep.
So that's a good thing. I want to bring up one other crazy thing that I've seen going around recently. Yeah. USCIS RFEs requesting interfilings from you.
That is very this is crazy.
Yeah. So basically, we've seen RFEs recently where USCIS, they're looking at an EB3 I-45 where somebody's priority date is not current, right? And they're saying, okay, to approve this case, we need two things from you. We need a supplement J based upon your EB2 I-140. And an interfiling request, a letter saying, I'd like to transfer the underlying basis of my case to this other case. You know?
Well, okay, I like the proactiveness. Number one, they need 4,400 people, right?
No.
To approve these cases. Number two, that's not a deniable, I mean, it's not an appropriate use or request for evidence.
Yeah.
I like the proactiveness, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
Request for evidence, please interfile.
Yeah, and that's that's somebody's personal decision they want to make whether they want to do that, and it's not not appropriate for an RFE. Yeah. So
interesting day in the neighborhood.
Yeah, they're trying. It's clear everything they say. Well, everything they say, Sam says they're trying. It's just when I see things like a processing time of an I-45 slip, 2.5 to 3 months. I get upset.
And give you a feeling that it's very personalized process, but you look at it, it's just a formula in the background. Yeah. With that, we're going to come back and answer your questions. This is part of the presentation when we're going to take your questions from social media and put them on the screen and answer them. Our style is to try to answer them as fully as possible. This is not a legal advice, obviously. This is just based on a very limited information and give you some guidance and direction in your questions. So on the first question, we have from NAG, can we expect another FB spillover for fiscal year 2023?
So we have analyzed this issue before, and it just doesn't really seem, okay, some, but not much. The family-based spillover, for those who don't know, refers to the fact that during COVID, when COVID was at its absolutely worst, the Department of State was not, the consulates abroad were not functional. They were not bringing people in for visa interviews at all. And most family-based visas get issued through the consulates abroad. And that meant, so if the Department of State wasn't taking people for visa appointments, immigrant visa appointment, and all of them were family-based cases, basically all those family-based cases, the visas, went unused, and due to the way the law is written, it spilled into the family-based categories. And that's how you had the great October 2020 for so many people, that allowed people to file adjustment of status, and the great visa availability of 290,000 employment-based categories for this year. And a while back, we're going to have to touch upon this again to see how they're doing when we see the new USCIS data on their statistics. But we look back and, probably this was fall of last year, it seemed that Department of State was back to pretty much, 95% of capacity in terms of their visa issuance.
And we saw 80%?
Yeah, and that tends to point, that maybe there won't be a big rollover into fiscal year 2023 of unused
Some,
family.
but not much.
Yeah, so maybe some, but I guess I can't say we expect like we've seen.
And there's a report that's going to be released very soon from the State Department. We'll have a lot better answer. We only look at the first quarter data. We only look at the second quarter data, and that will give us a little bit better
Yeah,
answer.
we'll go and revisit and see how they've been doing.
Stay
the last couple
tuned for
months.
future presentations. The moment the data is out, we'll have a session.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a fun one for sure to see how they've been really doing on those adjustment statuses.
Yes. All
So
right.
Ravi Kiran
Kiran, go ahead.
received EAD AP card, which with previously filed EB3 case, refiling EB2 now. Do I need to apply for EAD/AP again?
No, you do not need to do that. But given the fact that there's no filing fee,
Yeah, it's free.
I would apply for it.
Yeah, the big challenging form is the I-45. That thing's 18 pages right now. The EAD and AP forms are simple, And Sam, how often do we see USCIS lost your EAD in the mail, or an EAD is destroyed, or a typo on the EAD?
Yeah, the typo, man, kills you.
I'd rather have a
extra one.
yeah, exactly. Let's see what we got.
All right. So, Mr. Da, I and my spouse are eligible for Dropbox. My son turned 14, not eligible for Dropbox. Can we all attend interview at the consulate, or should we separate son's case and make him only to attend interview? It's a great question. Dropbox is an option to expedite your case. It's not a mandatory requirement. So you could easily have everybody, do the interview together. And get it done.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've never had a 14-year-old. Sam, you have some kids, both of which are over the age of 14 now. Imagine, would you send your 14-year-old child to a visa interview at a consulate?
By themselves.
Yeah.
And why would a 14-year-old be pulled from the Dropbox is ridiculous.
Well, I think for the government, 14's a magical age where they get all interested in fingerprinting and talking to them, but yeah, it's a
16, it's COVID,
kid.
Man.
Yeah, I know.
It's ridiculous.
This is very, very true. I agree with you on that.
Makes no sense.
They do it.
Makes no sense, Gupta, but yes.
Yes.
Yeah, do all together makes sense.
Well, Sam, we have a question from a regular viewer here, Sweet Seller, who I happen to know is a green card holder now.
That's right.
So
we'd love to keep him on our show.
Yeah. So if Social Security number is applied for with I-45 for kid, is there a way to track Social Security number delivery after getting the green card? Should I go to SSA and follow up?
You can go and follow up. It's a long line. I'm not sure where you live, but have you been to the Social Security office before? I mean, the wait is atrocious. I wanted to update my address, and I went to the Social Security office. This is about a couple of years ago. I was shocked at the backup. And by the time you make it to the window, they're super nice and super helpful, but you can make it to the window and not get any information. I've never had a single experience in which a Social Security number was not timely delivered in adjustment cases.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, typically a couple of weeks after you get a green card is when you see a Social Security number in.
But hey, you have an extra day. You want to enjoy the weather? Just go and take a number and hang outside the building until the number is closed.
You may be able to call Social Security Administration to see if they have the request.
They do have calling opportunities as well. That could be a phone call rather than.
Yeah, but I mean, these are nice problems to have. It means everybody has a green card, so it makes me happy. Big picture. So for Sagar,
we filed an EB2 in April straight, which went to NBC. Also have pending downgrade I-140 at SRC. USCIS now transferred my straight case from NBC to SRC. Interesting. I'm stuck in the SRC black hole now, worried. Well, if you looked at processing times at the various service centers,
Which we did a couple of weeks ago.
which we did a couple of weeks ago, and we've shared with you the numbers, and if you go back 2 YouTube sessions before, there is a link to that spreadsheet.
Yeah, and there's a Google Drive link to a spreadsheet where we sort of lay out the caseloads at all
And
these,
at the bottom are the service centers.
Yeah.
You will see that Nebraska and Texas are doing pretty much the same, give or take. But yes, it's not at the NBC where we're seeing most of the action is.
Yeah.
But if it's not at the NBC, it means that there's probably this case is moving
You know
forward.
what, under reviewed, because that's what the policy said. So, Sagar, when USCIS started shifting cases around to the NBC, they said the cases we're going to keep at the Texas Service Center and the Nebraska Service Center are the ones that we are actively working on with an officer. So, I mean, they put both your cases in the same spot, presumably to keep them together, so whoever's working on them will work on them.
Not only that, but there's some of the NBC local offices data is atrocious.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are at the NBC doesn't mean that your cases are moving.
Additionally, Additionally, we looked at the data on the Texas Service Center versus Nebraska Service Center. You know, they were pretty identical in the volume of cases they were processing. So
Yes.
I would challenge the idea that
You shouldn't be worried.
Yeah.
You could be in a lot worse shape if you ended up with the Houston local office or the Washington, D.C. local office or the Dallas local office. But you could be very fortunate to have ended up in Wichita, Kansas local office, which is numbers are amazing, or Columbus, Ohio local office where their numbers. So you shouldn't be worried.
Yeah,
your luck is no worse or no better than anybody else.
Yeah, I guess the bottom line for me is you don't really have much control over this either. They're going to put your case where they think it is in their estimation of their quickest way to get it approved. Yes. But staying in the Texas Service Center, per what the policy they put out says that your case is in theory a case actively under review at the Texas Service Center, per the policy they said, and that can only go by what they say.
Yep.
Let's see here. Oh boy, this thing's sometimes hard to read, Sam. Here we are. So, my EB2 green card was approved last week. I-824 to following join for spouse and children was filed concurrently with my approved I-45. Do I still need to file I-130? So the answer is going to be no, but you can. That's my take on it, Sam.
My EB2 green card was approved last week. I-24 following to join for my spouse and children was filed concurrently with my approved I-45. Do I need well, you do not need to file an I-130. That is correct. But you could file an I-130 as a backup because, you know, I don't know how long that following to join will take.
Yeah,
you can definitely throw in the I-130. It's not very expensive and let it run. And it does not conflict with the following to join.
Yeah.
So you have two paths.
I'm surprised. I mean, I don't know how long your EB2 green card was in process, but I-824s take a long time. We had filed some, you know, I just saw an approval on one very recently, but I'm surprised they didn't get to it sooner. I mean, it probably took, you know, the better part of a year to approve an EB2 green card, and I'm surprised it would take so long. You know, they wouldn't get to the I-824 the same yet. You know.
I wonder where the spouse is. That would make a big difference also. Is she in the U.S. Or abroad? So that would be another question we would like to know. If you have time to add it and we get to it, we can.
I'm presuming the spouse and children were. I'm presuming the spouse is and children
with my approved I-45.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I don't know where they're at.
Yeah, I'm presuming that they're abroad because that's, you know, generally why you're going to file in my book. Generally going to file. That's the only reason you're going to file it for them.
Sure. So yes, I-130. Don't have to do it, but you may want to do it as a precaution.
Yeah, I mean, one of them might move faster than the other one, and you don't know until you file them both.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt anything. I definitely agree with that. So from Shika 119.
I filed 485 under EB3 back in October 2020 and refiled new I-485 under EB2 in March of 2022. Recently, I got an update saying that my old EB3 485 case got transferred to NBC when I didn't request for interfiling.
Why?
So I don't have priority dates here. I'm assuming that your priority date is not current for the EB3.
But it's going to be current. It must be current for EB2. If you were, well, probably current for EB2.
Well, let them work on it. I mean, maybe they'll call for an interview and grab the other file or something.
Oh, right? Yeah. To lay out the whole policy, they said this is around the early April. They said that USCIS told AILA that cases that we're actively working on in the Texas Service Center and Nebraska Service Center, we're going to leave them there because there's offices working on those. The ones we're not getting to, they're going to go to the NBC. So, I mean, there's a great question. Whether they're doing anything is really contingent upon, is your priority date current? Or at least it should be. We did mention that RFE where somebody's priority date wasn't current and they said, send us an interfiling request. But why? It's because they think it's in the best interest of.
If they called you for an interview and you're not current, walk in with an interfiling request.
Yeah.
Right there, hand it to them.
Yeah. So
they can continue processing the case. With a copy of the I-140, have an attorney prepare a full package with all the exhibits so they can move the case along for you.
Yeah.
So that's the best we can do under the circumstances.
My optimistic view is they're putting your cases together. They're in this probably going to be in the same spot with the same officers, so they can approve whichever one they can get to first. And that's my optimistic view. I do believe they are trying, even though we spent the first half of this presentation, complaining
well, we just didn't like the presentation and slipping by the delayed.
Yeah, trying to brush that under the rug. Their massive drop in processing times.
Yes.
So here's from Jagan. EB2 to EB3 downgrade filed in October 2020 and received EAD and AP and I-140 is approved. So that means, your case is approvable, but as soon as your priority date becomes current. Here we are. Oh, maybe
filed EB3.
Here we go. A little bit more detail.
Yeah, go ahead.
Filed EB3 downgrade in October 2020. EAD AP received. Priority date 2014 July. Refiled EB2 in April 2022. Okay, so very recently. Can I travel outside of the U.S. and use EB3 AP without impacting new EB2 I-45 launched in April of 2022?
So the refiled EB2 in April 2020, did you receive a receipt notice?
That's a very good point.
So that's the most important thing for me to answer that question is I'd like to see at least that check cashed.
Yeah.
By USCIS with a tracking number to acknowledge that this case is now properly filed. Because if you left the country before it's filed, it may not be accepted.
Yeah.
So the moment it's filed, you will be safe traveling on the EB3 advanced parole, and it will not negatively impact your EB2.
Yes.
45.
I do want to mention that if you filed another AP with the EB2 case, they will deny that AP that you go to the EB2 case if you travel during the pendency of the.
Which is the reason why you should do an AP and EAD on every adjustment you filed. That the prior gentleman that asked that question, shall I apply for an EAD and AP? Yeah. Well, that's a prime example of why the answer should be yes, always, because now you have to leave the country. And you have the other one to fall back on.
The AP, for anybody who's hesitant to do it, the AP form is relatively simple. When we talk about doing a green card for somebody, we're thinking about the AP. It's I tell people that's incidental. It's really the work is in the main I-45 filing itself. That's where the heart of the case is.
Correct.
All
right, Hari Krishnan. When can we see updated processing time for field offices? A lot of cases are sitting in field offices all over the country, and some transparency can help. No question, Hari.
Yeah. So yeah,
there's no processing time, nor is there a processing time contemplated.
Well, so they have the new tool. Well, the tool is the same as the old tool, where they publish processing times online, right? So I'll show it for a second. Put it back up.
Yes.
Let me see. OBS Studio. Excuse me. You guys don't need to hear about that stuff. There it is. So if you have an employment-based justice in Columbus, Ohio, our locality here, they're saying to get to 80% of cases in 13 months. So that's good, right? That's a good thing. I like that, Sam. But here's my problem with that number, Sam. One of the people, first of all, they don't tell you where your case is. People get transfer notices, Sam, and they say...
NBC.
Yeah, NBC. Case transfer to NBC.
Yeah, you do not know what NBC you're in until you're called in for an interview.
The National Benefit Center is a place, but basically, per that AILA talk with USCIS that I mentioned, AILA says, no, we're not really processing these at the NBC. We're sending them out to field offices all around the country so they can do those. So if you go on the USCIS website, they have the shiny new tool that says, here's how long it takes us to get to 80% of cases, but you don't know where your case is, and that's really the challenge.
And therefore, how can you use the tool?
Yeah, that's really the challenge for me. And we've talked about this in the past. You can call, USCIS and try to get them to tell you specifically where your case is, and that's something that can happen. But I take that information I get from somebody over the phone or on Ask Emma with a grain of salt.
Yes, I don't think they will tell you, unfortunately. All right. Unless you throw in some kind of a GPS or some kind of a transponder or tracking device on your form, and you can personally track it.
Sam,
come out with a sheet of paper that's electronic, and you can track your case.
They have
everywhere.
really thin. I would amuse me to watch one of these cases move around the country, or if it moves at all. I suspect it just sits on a shelf most of the time.
You don't have to do that. You don't even have to go small. You just have attach a little clip and say exhibit, and clip it. They're not going to get rid of it.
I don't know, Sam. I feel like that's a good way to get the FBI at your door.
They will. And they'll laugh when they find out. They may not laugh.
Yeah.
They may not find it funny.
Yeah, well, national security. Well,
you're tracking your case?
Yeah, where you give me an NBC receipt number. I'd like to know where the NBC actually
where my file is.
Yeah.
There's some files are in some warehouses that they cannot get to now for years, and citizenship applications have been delayed for years because they cannot get inside these warehouses. That was something in the national media not too long ago.
In tracking, something else. I mean, we've gotten RFEs. They're not very common, but where it's USCIS comes to us, puppy dog eyes and tail between their legs, saying, "We lost your case. Can you send us another copy of it?"
Yeah.
So there's something to the concept of really, really bespoke case tracking with technology.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Sayyid Ahmed, go ahead, Brian.
Hi, Sam and Brian. Good to join your session. Going for biometric with my 16-year-old without other valid IDs. Her passport is at Indian Embassy for renewal, and she doesn't have any other photo ID. I'd say
school ID.
Yeah, any other ID. Here we are. Well, Syed, here we go. Does school ID along with passport renewal application work?
I think that's the best information you have.
Yeah, I mean,
I doubt that there's going to be a comfortable spot. It's going to be on the discretion of that individual. I mean, remember, they're taking biometrics, and they got to make sure that the ID is positive.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, bring a copy of the old passport, perhaps, but yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, most consulates are, able to give you your passport back if you have a need for it. The problem is, is that passport already expired, and they will probably take an expired one.
Passport is a valid ID, by the way.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, so.
Try, but it's going to be on the discretion of the gentleman who is doing this fingerprinting. I'd say chances of you going through and having it processed is about 70%.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with that. That
not
number.
100%.
Yeah, I give it a pretty good chance. I just say, Yeah,
worst case scenario, they're going to say no, and then you're going to have to come back with Plan B.
So does USCIS waiving off interview for all employment-based I-45, is everything okay employment-wise? So
well, they need to, but they're not waiving off. They will do an interview based on triggers.
Yeah. Yeah, I can. Based upon the amount of traveling we both did in the fall, they're definitely not stopping employment-based interviews. There's still plenty of people getting interviewed, and I still plan to have a travel-filled summer and fall as they do what USCIS does, and towards the end of the year start realizing, we have to get these cases approved, or we're going to lose the visas.
Yes. And then they're going to push them to approve all of them because they're sitting in every office.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of traveling we were doing around, August, September was,
brutal.
Interviews.
Rahul Mundra filed EB-1C, I-140 approved, 45, more than 180 days, biometrics completed, employer looking to terminate employment. Can I shift to another employer?
So EB1C is the
outstanding research, I believe.
No, I could have swore it was the executives. USCIS EB1C.
Because we don't call them those names in our office.
Yeah, we do.
These are for the common consumption.
Yes. It's going to drive me.
Look at the order. Look at that spreadsheet right here. The third one, certain multinational. So that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the third one. So yes. So it's a multinational manager or executive.
Yeah, it's the I-45 portability.
You can definitely
rules.
take advantage of the portability as long as it's the same rule, same or similar job classification.
Yeah. I mean, that's an analysis. I mean, can you ship to another employer? Perhaps.
Yes.
And it depends. Devil's in the details.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that we need to look at that carefully. I mean, you definitely need to engage an attorney quickly on this if the employer is looking to terminate. And also you need to look for a job quickly, but you really need an advice of counsel to look at it deeper and give you some good direction.
Yeah. So, any update / progress on cases moved from NBC to SRC last year?
Well, we don't have data on the specific subgroup of cases that moved from NBC to SRC. We have SRC overall data that we shared a couple sessions ago, but on the specific subgroup, there's no data available.
Yeah. A common theme during tonight's presentation is, this is what people want. They want transparency. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who would feel good if you could just attach a little, tile or Apple AirTag to their case, just so they can know where it is.
Yes.
Just so they had any clue that what was going on with it.
Right. I mean, there is so much you can do in terms of transparency, and informing people will make their quality of life so much better. And it really doesn't take too much. Even if the information is not positive, hey, your case is going to take another 8 months. Your case is going to take another 12 months. Okay, I know that.
Yeah.
It's the I don't know that's painful.
Yeah, it's what can I do? What can I do? Is something wrong? Oh, is something wrong? Is is there something wrong with my case?
Yes, or is my case normal?
Yeah.
All right.
So, from Arun Prasath, interfiled on February 7th. If I change job within 180 days of interfile, with new employer, will I be in EB2 or EB3 or green card denial?
If you interfile, on February 7th, you should not be able to change employment within 180 days.
Yeah.
Now, assuming that you did that,
Yeah.
you have a window of vulnerability, which is up to the 180th day. If USCIS inquire, interview you, or do an RFE, the response of which is within the 180 days, because you can wait outside the 180 days.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. They still have the policy right now where they give you an additional 60 days on RFE responses, and RFE periods are 90 days. 90 plus 60, that's pretty close.
Good cushion.
Yeah.
So if you cross the 180 day and you have a job, you're safe.
Well, we have seen. I mean, in theory, they can inquire. Well, they can say you left your job within 180 days, but
we haven't seen that.
Yeah, we've seen past cases where people have successfully gotten out of that scenario.
Many years ago, they've done that. They don't do that now.
Yeah.
So, so the answer is, there's two things need to happen. If they inquire within 180 days, and you don't have an answer, and if they know the law. A lot of times, they really, especially like the local officers, they're really well-intentioned, but they're just not trained.
They don't know employment-based green cards very
So
well.
if you get over those two, you're good. Otherwise, yes. You, within 180 days, it could be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's keep it going here. So this is commenting on the stuff we were talking about earlier. This is 15 months processing is before September 2020 in terms of, I presume he's commenting on the employment-based case. It says, I guess so. If they can say on this date they're getting to cases 80% of cases within 15 months. I guess if you look to when they start getting those, they're not going to be able to get to 80% of cases anymore very, very soon, and that number must crawl up.
So that 80% of cases is going to move up to 16, 17, and 18 months.
Yeah.
And then we're going to end up with garbage information.
Well, see, Sam, I got to go back a month from May 5th and see if it gets to 16 months, because I don't think they'll have they'll be meeting that 80% time frame.
Yes.
So, once it moves, hopefully after 3 months, that 15 month might change. Well, we will see. I mean, it's going to be. I have a lot of immigration things that I like to watch, and now I have another thing to add to that list for sure.
You guys watch it too and take screenshots.
Yeah.
And share with us.
Yeah.
If you find a good observation.
Yes.
Rajesh, my spouse works on H4 EAD. She went to India and will come back on green card EAD, okay, with advanced parole, as did not get a visa appointment. Does she need to update I-9 with green card EAD? It's a good idea because the answer is yes, and she doesn't need to update.
Yeah.
Her employer needs your wife need to inform the employer that the EAD card she'll be using is different, and make it available because the expiration date of the EAD card has to be notated on the I-9.
Yeah. I-9 is an employer problem, not a your wife problem. Your wife has to make sure she has a valid EAD.
As a good employee,
Sure.
her obligation is to inform them that she's working on,
Yeah.
the EAD she's working on is no longer applicable,
Yeah.
and that she has a new one.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right, so from Harry.
So, how long does the field office take to adjudicate a case? Straight case. My file is currently at Tampa field office. If 4 weeks is 4 weeks a reasonable time based upon your experience for a Tampa field office?
So we have published 2 YouTube sessions away data for every field office.
Yeah. So
with their average processing time.
get out my calendar, so I'll tell you when that live stream was.
And you can go to that live stream, and there's a link to that spreadsheet that you can open up, and you can look up Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, that would have been April 25th, I believe. So on the info section on the YouTube, there's a sort of data on the volume of cases and how much they get through on that spreadsheet.
Sorry, we don't have it ready here in frund of us. Otherwise, we would look at it.
Well, sooner or later they're going to publish the new round of data, and we're going to talk about that for sure. Because that stuff is a gold mine for just sort of interesting things to talk about for sure.
Yes.
Going to have to wrap this up here next.
We'll take Sweet Seller's question.
So, is there a need to get an updated Social Security card and driver's license after a green card for primary applicant and spouse?
I don't think there is a need to update a driver's license or after a green card holder. I don't think there's a need.
The only thing I can think about Social Security card is if you have one that's annotated that says valid with USCIS work authorization only, then certain non-immigrants get certain annotations on their Social Security.
Not authorized to work, not work authorization or something.
Yeah, it might be just easier for your.
It may be a good idea
employment.
to update that Social Security, but not the driver's license.
It's not the driver's license. You might be eligible for a longer driver's license because you're a green card holder at this point. Though, for example, I know a lot of states limit it to the validity of your immigrant visa, or your non-immigrant visa, whereas,
Well, you can wait until it expires and you can renew then.
Yeah,
but for the Social Security number, definitely you can get a new one.
Yeah.
That does not have the notation on it.
All right, so that we...
we are going to conclude today's presentation. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to us. And next week, Monday at 6 o'clock Eastern Time,